We would like to welcome you to the International Project Management Day 2012, brought to you by the International Institute for Learning. I'm Dr. Willis Thomas, and I'll be speaking to you on the basics of project evaluation and lessons learned. The Basics of Project Evaluation and Lessons Learned was published in November 2011 by Taylor and Francis, also known as Productivity Press, CRC Press, here in New York. It looks at evaluation and lessons learned in the context of initiatives that are temporary, unique, and for a specific purpose to produce a product, service, or result. Evaluation, of which lessons learned is a part, involves the determination of merit, quality, worth, value, or significance, importance. People consider the study of project management and evaluation to be interdisciplinary, intradisciplinary, and transdisciplinary in nature. While people know that evaluating projects and lessons learned are important, many have found it challenging to establish a process that truly works. The goal of my publication is to develop resources to help support project evaluation and lessons learned. And to this end, I created the Basics of Project Evaluation and Lessons Learned, and the most comprehensive website on the internet at www.lessonslearned.info. Here you will find articles, presentations, and other resources to help support you as you take under the challenge of evaluating projects and lessons learned. You may also see blogs at sites such as the American Society of Training and Development and Institute of Validation Technology. And so the vision that I have for organizations is to have them embrace project evaluation and lessons learned as a necessary process. And the mission that I've taken is to help organizations who are challenged with evaluating projects and lessons learned by utilizing the project management body of knowledge as a standard and providing some practical solutions to assist in this process. Furthermore, to develop resources to support the administration and management of lessons learned. So there's the Basics of Project Evaluation and Lessons Learned. There's the website at lessonslearned.info. There's informational sessions, as I have been visiting some of the Project Management Institute chapters, and articles that are available on blogs. Okay, so to give you a little context for the background on the book, The Basics of Project Evaluation and Lessons Learned, it represents 8 years of progressive development. When I was at Western Michigan University, where I completed my doctorate, the title of it was A Meta-Evaluation of Lessons Learned Repositories, Knowledge Management Practices, and Project Management. Here, Dr. Michael Scriven served as my advisor, and this was the way that I became very interested in the topic, and I approached the Project Management Institute at that time and wanted to really further my research in this area. So the Basics of Project Evaluation and Lessons Learned is essentially an extension of my dissertation, where I took several additional years of research to complete this publication. Dr. Michael Scriven is considered to be one of the foremost people in the area of evaluation. He has produced more than 400 scholarly publications and has served as president on numerous evaluation association boards. So let's talk a little bit about the design and contents of the book. If you look at the context for the publication, it is the only publication that focuses on the project management body of knowledge as a framework. So it looks at using the ANSI standard document that the Project Management Institute has completed and overlays project evaluation and lessons learned as a template to help organizations effectively and efficiently manage lessons learned and project evaluation. If you take a look at the publication that PMI produced in 2007 by Dr. Terry Williams, Post-Project Reviews to Gain Effective Lessons Learned, it picks up where that excellent publication left off. Other than that, there are some other publications that have been produced in the area of lessons learned, but again, my publication took it from a different angle, really showing you how to use the framework to conduct and manage lessons learned. So some of the interesting statistics that we find that came from Dr. Williams' research as a result of a grant from the Project Management Institute is that organizations, while there is significant recognition that lessons learned are important, have a lot of growth opportunity, let's say, to really improve in this area. Here we can see that 44% of projects were more successful as a result of implementing lessons learned. So I would welcome you to take a look at Dr. Williams' publication available through the Project Management Institute bookstore and really research these statistics and find out how organizations have viewed lessons learned. So here, when we take a look at some of the contents for what I try to present in the book, The Basics of Project Evaluation and Lessons Learned, are the framework by which an organization should begin to implement its process. First, through awareness that lessons learned is critical to the success of projects, that we should be able to move projects forward through project learning. So project learning is a very important part of project management maturity within an organization. So it is logically segmented into 10 chapters that follow a process and support a holistic methodology that is based upon the knowledge areas and the process groups. The process groups, as represented in the PMBOK, are the initiating, planning, executing, monitoring, controlling, and closing. And the knowledge areas are communications, cost, human resources, integration, procurement, quality, risk, scope, and time. So using this as the framework for lessons learned helps us to capture lessons throughout the life of the project and in these specific domain areas known as knowledge areas. This framework, as can be seen by this table here, represents 45 discrete categories that you can capture lessons in. So we can capture lessons in communications during the initiation phase of the project. Maybe that's important to us. Or we can capture lessons during the execution phase as it pertains to risk. Or during the closure phase, we may want to take a look at the lessons that we have captured. So if we look at what we've done right, what's been done wrong, and what could have been done differently, in these 45 categories, that gives us 135 items to take a look at, and this can help us to systematically put together a plan so that we can move our projects forward in the context of project learning and knowledge management. To further look at the domain areas within the PMBOK as it pertains to the knowledge areas, they are further segmented into cost, communications, human resources, risk, scope, and time. And I would welcome you to consult the project management body of knowledge for these individual attributes, but these represent some of the key areas that we can capture learning. So for example, when we take a look at project human resource management, we may want to take a look at the dynamics of the project team, okay? Acquiring project team members. When we take a look at risk, we may want to look at qualitative versus quantitative risk analysis. When we take a look at procurement, we may want to take a look at the vendor selection process. So the PMBOK guide organizes project management into process groups and knowledge areas. And when we take a look at how we want to organize our lessons learned, it is very simplistic in nature for us to categorize things into these 14 areas. When we look at lessons learned, there's two concepts. One is summative and the other is formative. So think of summative lessons learned as a way to look at things through your rearview mirror. So essentially we're looking at doing an impact assessment, we're looking at accountability, and we're looking at results. When we look at lessons learned from a formative perspective, we're looking futuristically. So how can we improve a process? How can we enhance a program? or how can we support change management through business continuity planning, succession planning, and those forms of change management. So lessons learned can be conducted summatively and or formatively. Here is the 10-step process that I recommend for lessons learned. It begins with the foundation of the project team that will support lessons learned. It requires identification of lessons, collection, putting them into a repository, whether they are paper-based or electronic, preferably electronic. Distribution so that people can take advantage of the lessons which have been learned in projects and reuse them in the future. Administration is important. There needs to be someone that is assigned to lessons learned to ensure that they're managed effectively, whether you're using a SharePoint server or if you're using file space. It's very important to have someone who will be overseeing lessons learned. Integration. It's important for us to integrate lessons learned into our process. They need to be adopted, they need to be verified, and of course they need to be presented not only to senior management but also to other key stakeholders within our organization. Here are a couple considerations for lessons learned repositories. So first, a repository can be paper-based or it can be electronic. The organization is going to need to determine the utilization of these lessons. Now, ideally, what is recommended is to move things to an electronic format simply because of accessibility. So I've seen effective storage and knowledge management systems. Other forms of storage can be on hard drive space, shared folders, web servers. The key is to make sure that these repositories are accessible and can be used when needed. Lessons learned repositories can be private or they can be public depending upon the needs of the organization. So what about some of the processes and tools that are available? First, what I've done is established a website at lessonslearned.info, and there are many different free resources that are available through lessonslearned.info. One of the resources that I put together is referred to as the PERC, the Project Evaluation Resource Kit, and this has all of the templates and forms that you're going to need to support lessons learned. Here, using the PERC, you should be able to take these templates, and again, it is based upon knowledge area and process group elements, and to help you to administer your lessons. Sometimes when we work with stakeholders, it can be significantly challenging. So one of the items that I have put together is how to engage stakeholders in our lessons learned process. We need to conduct workshops, we need to have surveys, and other means by which we can collect and disseminate lessons, and this stakeholder relationship grid may help you as a tool to be able to better assess your stakeholders. Using spreadsheets, Microsoft Excel spreadsheets, is easy, is familiar to us, and you can simply categorize your lessons on these spreadsheets. There are 4 different variations of the spreadsheet, and so you have to determine which one works best for your application. But some of the key things that we want to make sure that we do is not only determine what we've done right, what we've done wrong, and what we've done differently, but sometimes the impact of making these decisions. So one of these matrices actually provides a way in which you can do that. Additionally, what I found very helpful that supports the sorting and the categorization of information was to develop a database to support sorting and collection of lessons learned, and this is available. I received some input after visiting one of the chapters, and presenting information was on dashboarding. So a dashboard has been created which can provide red, yellow, and green indicators of when your projects are doing well from an evaluation standpoint. Also, you may want to consider the use of bar charts. This is another method of visualization that helps us to immediately determine when our lessons are on target or when we need to improve this process. And finally, sometimes there is a need for us to be more interactively engaged. So there is a board game referred to as TEL, Transferring Essential Lessons Learned, and this is a way that you and your project team and key stakeholders can share key lessons learned. So I'd like to thank you very much for the opportunity to speak with you. Again, my commitment is to helping organizations, Project Management Institute chapters specifically, in the area of lessons learned. And if I can be of further assistance, feel free to give me a call.
We value your feedback. Please click on the blue button below to complete a short survey. For more information about IIL's services, go to www.iil.com.